Everybody, it's Steve Taylor, our Bartow County Commissioner. Good to see you, Steve.
Good to see you, David.
And thank you for taking the time to answer the questions
Sure
that were
thing.
submitted on our Facebook page.
Happy to do it.
Now, I've got a lot to get to, so let's get started.
Okay.
I've got Stacy Johnson Hightower. These are two questions. Stacy Johnson Hightower, Homestead exemption for senior citizens. Pete Holland, school tax exemption for seniors.
Okay. The homestead exemption and the school tax exemption for seniors are a couple of different things. Let's go back to the homestead exemption. The county's homestead exemption has always been $5,000, at least for the last 20 years or so, 25 years. Last year, my office, sent a letter to our local delegation at the Capitol and asked our local elected representatives and state senators, and all 5 of them agreed that we needed to raise our homestead exemption. So our homestead exemption went from $5,000 to $10,000. If you which means after the 40% fair market value, it's $10,000. The top of your home, say it was a $300,000 home, that means you got $25,000 off the value of that home. That is a homestead exemption. The senior school exemption is a different matter. That would be an exemption that's only available to the seniors, and it would be only on your school taxes. And so that is an issue the legislature, our local legislative leaders have been working on, I know, for several years. I know if you live inside the city of Cartersville, the city school board and the legislatures worked out a deal, I think, that would please those citizens inside the city. So the city has got a senior school exemption that's a little better than the county right now. The county school board and the legislatures, I understand, are still talking about a senior school exemption. That is something that is totally not in my department. I don't have any authority or any say over that. The only thing a county commissioner can do about senior schools is pay his own tax on his own home. I'm just a private citizen like everyone else when it comes to schools and school tax exemptions. I'm not going to weigh in on pro or con for school tax exemptions. I don't think it would be appropriate for me to get in that battle with the seniors or with the school system. I think that's something that we've got reasonable people on the school board. We've got a good set of, our delegation is great folks to work with, and I think they're going to get something worked out sooner or later as far as the school exemption for the seniors. All I can be in that regard is a cheerleader. My part of the property tax for exemptions is the homestead exemption, which we got passed last year and should show up on this year's property tax bill.
Phyllis Thompson, what are the plans to handle the homeless population as it increases?
I tell you, the homeless situation is dire, not just in Bartow County, but if you start looking throughout, especially if you go into some of the major cities. We think we've got a problem, but if you go out west, and I was in LA a couple of years ago, and the homeless counts were right up and down the sidewalks. San Francisco, I understand, is the same way. These major cities almost everywhere have homeless living inside the cities, just like Atlanta does. It hasn't got that bad here, but we do have some homeless camps throughout the county. We have a great homeless shelter. We've got a lot of people that work to raise money for the homeless families. We've got Backpack Buddies, and Jessica Mitchell and her folks at the homeless shelter work tirelessly to raise money and to help these people. But there's always someone out there that's either sleeping in a car or sleeping in a tent, and I wish I could put my finger on it. This is a national problem. It's not just a local Bartow County problem. But good for Bartow County that we've got so many people with big hearts that's willing to help out when we can and as we can. They're still out there, but it's just a problem that I think we have to look at locally as far as getting them some help. And the cities, the 7 cities in Bartow and the county unincorporated areas all have seen some homelessness, and I'm as much in a quandary about how to help any more as anyone else. And I wish I had the answers, but I don't.
Michelle Pfeiffer Davis and a few others asked about internet problems in the rural areas. But she says the state was allocated money for internet in rural areas. Has anything been done with it? Why are we paying the same tax rate out here in rural Bartow County and we do not have the same infrastructure as those closer to town? Then she says water, sewer, internet, cable, police, fire.
I think the broadband situation in rural Bartow is just like the homelessness. It's all over the country. But the news media would make it appear that there's a lot of money at the state that they've handed down. You know, we hear about broadband money, and I've heard about it for the last few years. Bartow County has not received any broadband money. We're waiting. Of course, we would apply to any grant that the Department of Community Affairs would post on their website or send us bulletins saying, here's some broadband money, you need to apply for it. We haven't got that. We've read the headlines just like everyone else that broadband help is coming. Now, as far as broadband in the county goes, we are not in the broadband business. None of the cities are in the fiber and cable business. The market drives that. So if you live in an extreme rural area in Bartow, you're likely not to have any broadband service or cable service. And that's how most people, I think, around the cities get their internet services through their cable provider. You can, of course, apply to some of these other providers, but I understand that the service is really bad and it's weak and the signal's bad and it takes a long time to download. And so it seems to be a problem in the rural areas. I'm hoping it gets better. I know the space link that Elon Musk is sending these satellites up and orbiting the Earth, I hear that's coming and that could be a possible solution down the road. But right now, we're waiting on the broadband money to come down from the state. We hear it just like everybody else, but yet we hadn't received anything yet. But we are anxious to put that money to use if we ever get those grants.
Randy Stanley, a couple questions, put them together here. Randy Stanley says, quit building subdivisions. Cammie Combs Franklin said, stop approving new subdivisions when the area can't hold the volume that they have now. Not every piece of land needs to be a new subdivision.
I agree with that too, and that's why we've turned down several subdivisions. Mostly what we have not approved lately is multifamily, which is apartments and townhomes. If you look at the newspaper after our public meetings lately in the last several months, we've turned down those multifamily projects. We did approve a single family home subdivision this past month, but the month before we turned one down, 270 homes. Bartow County is growing, but it's not growing at the pace Paulding County has grown, like around 30,000 in the last 10 years, or Cherokee County has grown in the last 10 years of about 50,000. We've grown about 10 to 15,000, we think, in about the last 10 years, which is about half of Paulding and about a third of Cherokee. Now, we will have some growth. There's a lot of jobs available in Bartow County. It's a good climate. We've got the lowest taxes of any county around. So, yes, a lot of people want to move to Bartow County. But we also realize that there's a lot of people here that was born here and raised here that need housing. So where do we find that balance? That's what we're continuously looking at, trying to balance housing with overgrowth. We constantly stay in touch with the school system, and people talk about the schools being overcrowded and so forth. The Board of Education is good about, their leaders are good about staying in communication with our community development folks, and we think we do a good job in that regard. So we do try to balance growth. We're not exploding in growth, as a lot of people think. When we do approve a subdivision, it's normally not one of these 800 or 1,000 home subdivisions like you see in the other metro counties. We try to keep them small. We try to keep our growth going. And there's several new homes being built in Bartow County, but we have none of the growth like some of the communities south of us and east of us.
Two comments here. PJ Piatt, Piatt, Ask him why Metro Ambulance Service is not holding up their end of the contract. They're constantly having low numbers and extended ETA for ambulance service in the county. Should not have to wait 45 minutes for an ambulance when someone is in cardiac arrest. Another question somebody sent in. Ask Steve how he feels the EMS service Metro is going. Does he realize they are frequently understaffed and routinely shut down trucks? Also, it is not uncommon for the Bartow County trucks to respond to 911 calls and non-emergency calls in Paulding and Cherokee counties due to poor staffing in those counties.
Metro's doing a good job for us. Metro is staffing more than Bartow County could ever staff if we had kept the service. There is a shortage of paramedics nationwide. It's not just local. But Metro's doing a good job. Their response times are better than ours was when we owned the service. Now, if there's a 45-minute wait on an ambulance and someone's had a cardiac arrest, that's a one-off thing, and I'm not going to sit here and say they're always on time or super fast, because they do have a lot of territory to cover, but so did Bartow County. I get far less calls complaining since Metro's took over this service than when it was a county-owned service. I know there's still some sour grapes out there about us privatizing this service, but it was the best thing we could do as far as serving the citizens of Bartow County. This service, they have way more resources, Metro does. They have a way better training program than the county had, and they were in agreement with the hospital. They've got a good, close working relationship with the local hospital, and those are the things that we looked at first when we decided to privatize. Yes, there is some dollar savings in tax dollars there too, which is a good thing. But we wouldn't have done it just for tax dollar savings. We had to look at a service that would provide a good, quick service, well-trained professional staff for Bartow County, for all of Bartow County citizens. And it's still rubbing people the wrong way, and I know it's still going to be out there, probably for the duration of my term in office. But it was a decision that had to be made, and I think most people would have made the same decisions.
Michelle Ludwig Herring. Why do we need more distribution centers? Cass White Road doesn't need more. You have schools and neighborhoods too close to these centers. You are going to run people off to other counties because they don't want to live near all of this. And also Tiffany Morgan said, how much more does he expect to pile on Cass White Road? We have a high school with inexperienced drivers, truck stops, factory after factory, and the road cannot handle.
Well, Cass White Road, if you recall, and I'm not throwing anybody under the bus on this, that zoning has been in place way before I became commissioner. The plan has been there for a long, long time for zoning for Cass White Road. It's business park zoning, which does include logistics warehousing. There is a lot of traffic on Cass White Road, and we're trying to address that now. We realize that Cass White would probably turn into a 4-lane sooner rather than later. We're doing those projects in phases. Phase 1 from Cass High School to 411 has been completed in the last year, and we're looking at a phase that starts from I-75, then goes out past Great Valley Parkway for a 4-lane. The first phase of our 4-lane, which will be phase 2, since phase 1 was just a 2-lane over the railroad tracks. We're looking at solutions for traffic out there, but you're right. Cass White Road is growing. It is an industrial base for the county. It's in the center part of the county. There's also a lot of jobs out there that's being created for citizens in Bartow County. And not least, but very importantly, the tax digest in Bartow County is growing because of that area. And that will allow us to lower the millage rate in Bartow County, which this morning, we just did a full rollback on the millage for next year's taxes.
Two people, I got two comments here. Darla Branton Williams says, ask him if he will please run another term. And then Colby Evans says, what is his opposition to a board of commissioners or putting a ballot measure out and letting citizens vote on the issue? Bartow is the largest county in the country without a board of commissioners.
That is true. And to answer Darla's question, I do plan on running again. I'm in my first half year of my third term, which means I've got 3.5 years left in this term. To say 100% for sure that I'm going to run again, that would depend on my health and how much I'm enjoying the job. I really enjoy this job, and right now, if I feel good in a couple of years, I'll probably announce another run for this job, because I do plan on running if all goes well. As far as the Board of Commissioners go, someday it will probably be on the ballot. I feel good now. I think I'm doing a good job. We've got a low millage rate in Bartow County. We've got a booming economy in Bartow County. We've got growth in Bartow County, even though it's not explosive growth. Any growth viewed by some people thinks that it's explosive growth. We don't have that compared to other counties. So we're growing at a good pace. Everything's going good. Financially, Bartow County is in the best shape I think it's ever been in. That's why we did a full millage rollback this year. It's going to show up on your tax bill this fall. Now, don't get your complete tax bill. When you look at it, you need to look at Bartow County government taxes and not the school board taxes or your local city's taxes. So I think that we're doing a great job, and most people, I feel, like a sole commissioner form of government. What could a board give you that a sole commissioner form of government hasn't given you? I don't want to be arrogant and say all this good stuff I'm going to take credit for. I did it all. I'm not going to do that. That's not the type of leader I am. But I'm going to say I did do one thing right. I chose a really good, competent team around me. And those team members work real hard every day to make your tax dollar go very far. I honestly don't believe a board could squeeze more out of a dollar than we do. We're an efficient form of government in Bartow County. And I'm proud of everyone that works here, all the department heads, our economic development team. Yes, we do look at growth. We look at traffic issues. We look at our partnerships with our other cities and schools. And that's something that we're really proud of. So as far as a Board of Commissioners, I think it'll be on the ballot in a few years. It probably will. But right now, I think our local legislature is happy with the way this county is growing and moving and has gotten to be, for the first time ever, financially secure.
Julie Kramer Reichenbach asked why he chose to go against 100% of the residents who showed up to the Planning Commission meeting, the unanimous vote of the Planning Commission and Glade Marina, who don't want a high-density subdivision on Kings Camp Road, right next to core land by the lake. Unsuitable for the area, and he knows it. Steve likes to say that the Planning Commission and the residents have spoken, and he usually votes with them. He delayed his vote in it for 3 months so he and his team could dig up people to speak for it at a meeting, while more people showed up again to speak against it.
Well, that's part of that's not true. We don't delay meetings to recruit speakers. We delay meetings to get more information, number one. That particular vote, this is my 9th year, and I almost always do go with the Planning Commission. On 2 or 3 occasions, I didn't go with the Planning Commission. Now, to say 100% of the people that was against this project, that is not true either. If this person had came to my Wednesday morning meeting, they would have found that there were several people there speaking for the project. Local neighbors that would like to see that community improve. It is a community that needs some redevelopment. And this project that this person is talking about is homes that's going to average from 280 to 350. It's going to be not a higher end subdivision, because 280 to 350 is not, but it's going to be affordable to a lot of people rather than putting in another trailer park. So these people that's speaking against it, there's an element, and there's a few people down there that don't really want to see this area redeveloped. But I would say the majority of the landowners and the homeowners in this area does want to see the Glade Road area redeveloped. They want to see good quality projects, just like this project's going to be, come to that area. And I support that, and I'm a big supporter of that area. And we spent some money, some good investments down there, and it's going to pay off. And this is one of the first areas, I think that it's starting to show that it's paying off. And it's a great development, and I'm going to be proud of it, and I hope the citizens down there are going to be proud of it too.
Heather Smith, how come you can't put whatever kind of house you want on your own private land?
Well, that's a good question, and 50 years ago that would have probably been a good argument when this was a all rural county and you had plenty of land around you and you didn't have close neighbors. You didn't have to worry about your neighbors. What you put on your land was your business. It didn't affect anybody else. But now, with the growth that we've had, there is what you do on your land does affect other people. And so mostly you can do what you want on your own land, unless you live in a community with an HOA and then you sign an agreement that the HOA can dictate what you can do. But in Bartow, our code enforcement's not out there riding the roads looking for someone they can pick on and say you've got to clean up your yard or whatever. Our code enforcement is complaint driven, which means neighbors or somebody close by calls in with a complaint on this particular landowner, and that person almost always, I won't say almost always, I'll say always gets a warning about cleaning up their property, or too many cars parked there, or the cars are blocking the roads, or it's always affecting your neighbor's rights also. Then the code enforcement will act. Until we get complaints from the neighborhood, the code enforcement's not out there trying to look for high weeds or yards that are not mowed or junky cars or things like that. When the neighbors start complaining, then it becomes other people's business too. It's not just your rights that matter, it's those neighbors too. So that's how we operate code enforcement, and I think that's the right way to do it.
Mary Harris Robertson Phipps. She says we need to have better places for real low-income residents.
Yes, and that's we have got some of those. We've approved a couple on Hickory Road. One's in the city, a senior nursing home out there. Another is a low-income senior housing on the left. I can't think of the name of it. It's out on Hickory Road. But that's one that we've just approved the zoning. The county doesn't build these. You have to have companies that come in. Prestwick Properties came in and built that one. The grant comes through the Department of Community Affairs, which is state money, which is actually federal money that flows through the state to help build these low-income properties. They do a study in the community to find out if this community has a number of citizens that are low income that can apply for those funds and can get one of those low income housing units. So that's not just up to the county. We are participants in those programs. As they come down, we look for them. Our grant writers look for them, and we do participate in those type programs. But the county's not in building home business. You know, we can't do that. We would never be able to do that. But I know a lot of these big urban areas do build low-income housing, but Bartow County's not set up that way. I think you may see it some more in the cities than counties, but county governments usually don't get involved in low-income housing.
Catherine Walker Buron, Burrion. Red light cameras. Why can we not get a red light camera at Center Road and Joe Frank Harris Parkway? There are accidents almost daily from people running that red light.
I think people running a red light would still run the red light if there was a red light camera out there. There's, I can tell you, this particular citizen would like to see a red light camera, and then you might find someone else that would want to see speeding cameras out there to catch every speeder that goes over the speed limit. But for every person that would like one, you're probably going to have 5 people that doesn't like red light cameras. And so it's kind of one of those big brothers watching you kind of things. If we put a camera on you in all aspects of your life, then you're not going to feel comfortable with it. So red light cameras, speeding cameras, the general public really doesn't like those. And I think we've got law enforcement for that reason. People are still going to speed and they're still going to run traffic lights, whether we got a camera on the traffic light or not. It's still going to happen. So in the county, as far as county's jurisdiction, we don't have red light cameras. I think one of the cities has a couple of red light cameras, but Bartow County does not operate red light cameras.
Bell Ann Klein, when is Euharlee getting water, sewer to replace our septic tanks? Been hearing about it coming for a while.
Well, Bell Ann, Euharlee has got sewer. Euharlee has had water for a long time, but in the last couple of years, Euharlee has got sewer. It runs all the way down to downtown Euharlee. How it runs from there, the laterals we call them in the water world, when the laterals go out, that'll be up to the city of Euharlee. But Bartow County is ready to partner with the city of Euharlee and help. It was a partnership between the city of Euharlee and Bartow County to get the water down to downtown Euharlee, and I think they've got some plans to do several things with that. It's like, I'm not speaking for Euharlee, but they've got a great town, great council, great mayor. They're ready for growth too, and I think some commercial business would thrive down there if they would locate in Euharlee right now. So we're anxious to aid Euharlee in anything they ask us to do as far as sewer. But remember, Euharlee is a city of their own. They can make their own decisions. I'm not speaking for them. I'm just saying I'm encouraging and would be one of their biggest fans if they want to expand their sewer system. But you've got to wait on the market, a potential customer, a prospect to come to downtown Euharlee. And I think they're doing good, and I think you'll see good things out of Euharlee.
Couple quick questions. When is Brent Westbrooks, when is Burnt Hickory Road going to be a widening project?
You know, I had a call this morning that a lady said that she heard that Burnt Hickory Road was about to be a 4-lane and it was going to take 75 feet of her front yard. And so that's not in the plans. That would have to be funded by the state. And right now we've got no plans to widen Burnt Hickory Road. I can see with all the traffic in the future and the way the growth is coming out there, one day Burnt Hickory may be 4-laned, even in my lifetime. It won't be 4-laned while I'm commissioner because I don't have enough time to see that happen. I can tell you by the county's funds, that would never happen. We could never afford to do that. We can look at some of those intersections, and we are looking and studying some of the intersections. One intersection that needs some work is the corner of Burnt Hickory and Sugar Valley Road. Another one is maybe Mission Road and Burnt Hickory. That one's in the city. Burnt Hickory and Sugar Valley is like 3/4 city county. We got a good partnership with the city of Cartersville in all that we do as far as road improvements. It might be a partnership between the two jurisdictions as far as getting those intersections moving a little better. I do know that traffic locks up there, especially when a train comes through, it's just shut down. And so we need to do a little bit more traffic studies and see how we can get turn lanes and maybe route that traffic on down the road some when a slow moving coal train is coming through. But yeah, that as far as 4-lane in Burnt Hickory Road, that's not in our plans right now.
Final question. Janice Scott, why don't the roads in Bartow County ever get striped?
We spend about $200,000 a year on striping in Bartow County. You can probably go out in the country in some of these narrow country roads and you can say this road needs striping, and we realize that. We get to as many of them as we can with the budget we have, but we do try to stripe all the major roads first, of course, because that's where most of the traffic is, and then we use a striping budget to stripe some of the roads that are not quite so heavy in traffic. But yeah, we could stripe. We could spend $1 million in striping in Bartow County if we had it, but we do have it in the budget. We spend quite a bit every year, and we continue to do that and look at the safety of our roads. We spend quite a bit of money on paving, potholes, striping, mowing, and intersections, guardrails. So we've got a road department that does a lot of good work with a small budget. So,
Steve, anything you'd like to add?
I'd like to just say that we live in a great county, the best county in the world, I think. Bartow County is, of course, we live in a great state, and we live in the greatest county in the state of Georgia, I think. And so we're just blessed to be here. It's a great place to raise your family.